Have you ever smiled at a message while your chest was screaming for silence? You woke up, you ate, you answered every call, but inside, it felt like dragging your own nervous system across glass. Your thoughts are blurry, your breath never lands deep, your shoulders stay raised, like your body's bracing for a hit that never comes. That's not tiredness, that's emotional exhaustion in disguise. And if you've been calling it laziness, weakness, or lack of discipline, you've been gaslighting yourself. You weren't built to scroll through tragedies and dopamine spikes before your first sip of water. You weren't meant to perform happiness while your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. But no one told you that. They just said, fix your mindset. Here's the brutal truth. You can't outthink a dysregulated body. You can't meditate your way out of chronic cortisol. And you can't heal in a world that rewards your collapse. Mental health is not a luxury. It's not a mood. It's the foundation beneath every decision, every relationship, every damn breath. And right now, you're bleeding energy just to appear okay. But you don't have to keep betraying yourself like this. You don't have to keep outsourcing your peace to systems that profit from your dysfunction. In this video, we're going to strip away the noise. I'll show you what's actually happening inside your brain, how your body has been screaming for safety, and the rituals that quietly whisper, you can exhale now. You don't need hacks. You need grounding. You don't need to be fixed. You need to remember who you are when you're not performing survival. So stay, because this might be the first time in years that someone looks you in the eye and says, you're not broken, you're overwhelmed, and that can be healed. You've followed the advice. You've slept. You've taken breaks. You've done less. So why do you still feel like you're carrying 100 pounds of silence inside your chest? Here's the truth no one says out loud. Your exhaustion isn't from what you're doing. It's from what you're holding. Every smile you fake, every emotion you shove down, every moment you pretend to be okay, it all adds weight. Not the kind you can see, the kind that settles into your body like fog in your lungs. This is the invisible weight of emotional labor, and it's draining you. Your brain isn't just reacting to tasks. It's processing ambiguity, emotional tension, unspoken fears, and relational instability, all day, every day. That's what psychologist Feldman Barrett calls affective realism. Your emotions color how your brain perceives the world. So when you're anxious or overwhelmed, your reality literally shifts. Even a simple email can feel like a threat. A quiet room can feel hostile. That's not weakness. That's your nervous system trying to make sense of chaos. Add to that what Siegel calls the window of tolerance, the range where your nervous system can operate without going into fight, flight, or freeze. When you're emotionally overloaded for too long, that window narrows. Your baseline shifts. Suddenly, even doing nothing feels like too much. This is why you can scroll for hours and still feel unrested. Why conversations feel like marathons. Why your body feels tired before the day even begins. It's not just fatigue. It's internal collapse masked as functioning. And it's dangerous because you've learned to normalize it. You keep pushing through the numbness. You perform stability while quietly unraveling inside. You've been taught to associate exhaustion with action. But in reality, some of the heaviest days are the ones where nothing happened. Because emotional weight doesn't need an event. It needs only your silence, your self-betrayal, your constant self-monitoring. Your brain is burning through energy trying to hold it all together. But holding isn't healing. It's delaying the collapse. This invisible weight is why your mind feels foggy, why your focus is shot, why you overthink every word you say. It's why rest doesn't feel restful anymore. And unless you learn to recognize this emotional load, it will keep bleeding you dry while you blame your willpower. So no, you're not broken. You're carrying more than you ever admitted. And the first step to healing is seeing it for what it is. Not a mindset problem, but a survival response to chronic emotional overload. But here's what's really happening, and why it's not your fault. Your nervous system is doing everything it can to protect you. And that takes us to what you've never been told about how your body reacts to stress. Not with logic, but with instinct. Let's talk about that next. But here's what's really happening, and why you keep feeling worse the more you try to feel better. You've been chasing the wrong target. You were taught that feeling good is the goal, that happiness is the proof of a healthy life, that emotional discomfort means you've failed, spiritually, mentally, morally. But Albert Camus saw it clearly. Life is absurd, and chasing happiness in an absurd world only deepens your despair. You feel unstable, not because something's wrong with you, but because you're clinging to a definition of peace that doesn't work. You think happiness will arrive when things calm down, when your mind gets quiet, when your habits align, when people finally understand you. But peace isn't a finish line. It's a way of carrying the weight, and weight will always be there. Camus wrote that the absurd is not something to defeat, but something to carry with dignity. That's the real shift. Mental health isn't about removing discomfort. It's about learning to live with it, without needing to solve it. Modern life teaches the opposite. It seduces you with dopamine highs, emotional shortcuts, and shallow validation. You're promised joy through productivity, purpose through praise, self-worth through performance. But what happens when you're alone, when no one is watching, when there's no win to post? You crash. Because you were never taught how to sit in stillness without panic. You've associated calm with numbness, stillness with failure. So your nervous system interprets peace as danger. Marcus Aurelius warned about this trap. He knew that true inner stability is not about emotional comfort. It's about emotional discipline, not suppression, not denial, but the ability to remain grounded when life offers no answers. That means allowing pain without indulging it, letting uncertainty breathe without rushing to suffocate it, sitting with a racing heart and saying, I see you. You're allowed to be here. But this is hard, and because everything around you says the opposite. The apps scream, fix yourself. The gurus whisper, vibrate higher. Even your friends sometimes say, don't think like that. So you internalize the lie that discomfort is failure, that sadness is weakness, that being overwhelmed is shameful, and that lie is what keeps you stuck. You don't need to chase happy. You need to build emotional tolerance. The kind that lets you face a quiet Sunday and not feel like you're disappearing. The kind that lets you feel your feelings without drowning in them or running from them. That's real inner stability. It's not found in perfect moods. It's forged in moments where you allow the absurd to exist without controlling you. And that brings us to the part of you that's been blamed and misunderstood for far too long. Your nervous system. It's not broken. It's not weak. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do under pressure. You just never learned how to speak its language. Let's change that. You've been told to calm down, breathe, shift your perspective, and maybe you've tried. Maybe you've done the meditations, read the books, repeated the affirmations, but your heart still races when the phone rings. Your stomach still knots when you're alone with your thoughts, and your body still flinches, even in safe places. Here's the brutal truth. You're not failing. You're dysregulated. And no amount of mindset work can override a nervous system stuck in survival mode. Let's break this. Your nervous system, the system that controls everything from your heartbeat to your focus, isn't logical. It's instinctual, ancient. It's not scanning your calendar or your self-help goals. It's scanning for threats. And if your body has been conditioned to associate silence with danger, stillness with neglect, or love with inconsistency, then calm won't feel safe. It'll feel foreign. That's not psychological weakness. That's biological protection. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains how the vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down to your gut, plays a central role in regulating your emotional state. It's like your body's internal brake system. When it's functioning well, it tells your heart to slow down, your breath to deepen, your muscles to soften. But when it's hijacked by trauma, chronic stress, emotional chaos, it keeps you in a loop of tension, hypervigilance, and shutdown. You might look calm, but inside, everything's vibrating. This is why telling someone to just relax is useless, even cruel, because relaxation isn't a decision. It's a signal your body needs to receive. And right now, your system doesn't trust that signal because you've spent years overriding it, faking fine, pushing through panic, smiling when your body was begging you to leave. Let that sink in. Every time you ignored the tightness in your chest, the shallow breath, the urge to run, you taught your body that its signals don't matter, and now it screams louder, not to punish you, but to protect you. So no, this isn't about willpower. It's about nervous system regulation. It's about learning how to speak your body's language through breath, rhythm, stillness, movement, safety, real safety, not performance. Because here's what's terrifying and freeing. Your body doesn't care about your goals if it doesn't feel safe. You could have every plan, every habit, every mindset shift. But if your nervous system is in a constant state of defense, you will sabotage yourself just to survive. That's why discipline fails. That's why clarity fades. That's why you feel stuck in cycles you swore you'd break. So before we talk about emotional mastery, we have to start here, with the body, with the biology, with the truth. And now that you know this, what happens when you stop suppressing the signals and start listening to them? That leads us to a painful myth most of us carry, one that's been marketed as healing, but is quietly making you sicker. So now you know, your body has been screaming truths your mind was trained to ignore. But here's what's really keeping you stuck. You've been suppressing the very emotions you needed to feel to actually heal. And you were praised for it. You were told you were strong for holding it together, for staying positive, for pushing through. But let's be honest, how much of that strength was actually emotional self-abandonment? You've been told to raise your vibration, to stay high frequency, to only feed what you want to feel. But underneath the smiles and affirmations, your chest feels like it's been shrink-wrapped. Your thoughts race not because you're ungrateful, but because there's grief, anger, fear, trapped beneath the performance. That's not mindset. That's emotional suppression. And according to psychologist Susan David, it backfires. Hard. She calls it toxic positivity, the illusion that avoiding negative emotions somehow makes us resilient. But it doesn't. It makes us fragile. Because when we deny parts of ourselves, we don't become lighter, we become fractured. Lisa Feldman Barrett's research shows that emotions aren't just reactions, they're constructed experiences, built by how we interpret bodily sensations, memory, and meaning. Which means, when you suppress emotion, you distort your perception of reality itself. And that distortion doesn't go away quietly. It shows up in sudden outbursts, in panic attacks that come out of nowhere, in emotional numbness that leaves you disconnected from everything, even joy. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between suppression and danger. It only knows something is wrong, and we're not allowed to respond. So you freeze, internally locked, externally composed, dying in slow motion while the world claps for your composure. Here's the brutal truth. You can't heal from what you won't feel. Emotional agility, the ability to turn toward discomfort instead of away from it, is the foundation of real resilience. Not bottling, not exploding, but witnessing, without judgment. That means sitting with the ache without needing it to go away, breathing with the fear without trying to reframe it, letting the sadness say what it needs to say. Because when you stop fighting your feelings, they stop fighting you. This isn't indulgence, it's integration. It's how you build authentic emotional regulation, by honoring the full spectrum of your experience, not just the palatable parts. You're not meant to be positive all the time. You're meant to be whole. And wholeness includes sadness, rage, grief, uncertainty, not as enemies but as messengers. And when you finally start listening to them, you stop being ruled by them. But the world doesn't reward this kind of honesty. It rewards performance. Which brings us to a darker truth, one that's eating away at your identity every time you try to be better. Let's talk about how self-improvement done wrong becomes self-erasure. You've done everything right. You've read the books, tracked the habits, set the alarms, repeated the mantras. But somehow, the more you improve, the more disconnected you feel. That hollow ache, that quiet dread when you look in the mirror, that's not failure, that's identity fatigue. And here's what's really happening. You're not growing. You're performing a version of yourself that's killing you. The self-help world taught you that becoming better means becoming more productive, more optimized, more polished. But no one asked, better for whom? You've been trying to earn your worth by engineering a personality that looks impressive but feels foreign. And the price of that? Your authenticity, your peace, your sense of self. This is the paradox. Self-improvement, when driven by shame, becomes self-erasure. You're not evolving, you're editing, not healing, just hiding behind upgrades. Kierkegaard called it despair, the sickness of not being yourself. He wrote that the most painful form of despair isn't wanting to die. It's living every day as someone you know deep down isn't you. That ache in your chest when you hit a milestone, that feeling of now what, after you check off the next goal, that's your soul whispering, this isn't real. This isn't you. B.F. Skinner, the father of behaviorism, showed that we become what we're reinforced for. And if your rewards have always come from being pleasing, impressive, high-functioning, then of course you've built a persona around those signals. But here's the brutal truth. A reinforced identity is not always a true identity. It's just the one that keeps you accepted, safe, applauded. But safe doesn't mean free. And applause can feel like handcuffs when you realize the version of you people love is the version that costs you your wholeness. So now you're exhausted, not because you're broken, but because you're stuck sustaining a self that was never yours to begin with. And it shows. In the overthinking, in the constant need to fix yourself, in the way rest feels unearned, in the emptiness that achievement can't touch. This isn't a motivation problem, it's an identity crisis, one masked by discipline and disguised as growth. Real self-development doesn't start with building habits. It starts with dismantling illusions. Letting go of the identities you built to survive, impress, or be loved, so you can finally become who you were before the world told you who to be. You don't need another upgrade. You need reconnection. Not with the version of you that works hard, but with the one underneath all the roles. And to do that, you have to stop trying to control every detail of your existence. Because the truth is, the very thing you're doing to stay safe is what's keeping you stressed. Let's talk about how control becomes your cage. You've been trying to hold it all together, perfectly. Every thought managed, every plan mapped, every emotion analyzed before it has the chance to breathe. You call it discipline. You call it staying on top of things. But here's what's really happening. You're feeding the very chemical that's burning you out. Let's get real. Your need for control isn't making you safe. It's keeping you stuck in a cycle of stress. And the more you try to tighten your grip, the more your body drowns in cortisol. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone. Andrew Huberman explains that it plays a vital role in alertness, motivation, and short-term survival. But when it's chronically elevated, not by danger, but by mental rigidity, over-planning, and emotional micromanagement, it becomes toxic. You're not just tired, you're chemically inflamed. That tension in your neck that won't leave, that insomnia that keeps coming back, that baseline irritability you've normalized, that's your body sounding the alarm, not because of what's happening around you, but because of the internal pressure you're generating every day. Here's the brutal truth. Your obsession with control is interpreted by your nervous system as constant threat. Why? Because control says, I don't trust life. I don't trust myself to respond to chaos, so I must eliminate it. But you can't eliminate chaos. And the more you try, the more cortisol you release, preparing for a danger that never ends. This is hypervigilance in disguise. Daniel Siegel, who studies brain-body integration, calls this the tyranny of certainty. The belief that if we can predict and perfect everything, we'll finally feel calm. But calm doesn't come from control. It comes from capacity, the ability to stay rooted within chaos, not above it. And here's what makes this dangerous. You get addicted to the illusion. That tightness feels productive. That mental buzz feels like clarity. That micromanagement feels like discipline. But it's just stress wearing a mask. You're not in control. You're in a loop where fear of collapse leads to more over-control, which triggers more cortisol, which feeds more fear. Break it. You don't need to control everything. You need to build trust in your body, in your breath, in your ability to adapt. Because real stability isn't rigid, it's fluid. It flexes, it absorbs, it moves with life, not against it. And the more you soften your grip, the more your nervous system can finally say, we're okay. We can exhale now. This is what true mental health is built on. Not domination over emotion, but cooperation with it. Which brings us to the most dangerous misunderstanding of all, believing that success and stability come from metrics and validation, instead of meaning. Let's talk about the real source of fulfillment. You've been measuring everything. Your progress, your routines, your sleep, your streaks. You've chased every benchmark, hit every target, and optimized every inch of your day. But here's what's quietly hollowing you out. No matter how much you achieve, it never feels like enough. You hit the goal, and within minutes your brain whispers, what's next? You get the praise, and immediately question if you deserved it. You check every box, but your chest still feels empty. This isn't because you're ungrateful. It's because metrics don't feed the soul. You've been trained to associate success with emotional relief, But the relief never comes, because you were promised something metrics can't give you: meaning. Marcus Aurelius warned of this illusion. He wrote that a life led by external validation, applause, admiration, recognition, is a life disconnected from virtue, from self, from peace. Real fulfillment, he said, doesn't come from results. It comes from alignment, from acting in accordance with your values, regardless of outcome. And Susan David echoes this in her work on values-based living. You feel alive not when you succeed, but when you act from who you truly are. But that's not what the world rewards. The world praises performance, productivity, visibility. It hands you likes and followers and promotions, but never the deep breath your nervous system's been waiting for. So you keep performing, you keep chasing, and slowly, you disconnect from the core of yourself. This is the root of existential fatigue. You're running a race with no finish line, driven by numbers that were never meant to measure your worth. And the worst part? You've been conditioned to believe that feeling empty after success means you're broken. But you're not broken. You're misaligned. You've been living from the outside in, letting metrics define your purpose, instead of letting your purpose define your movement. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something just because it aligned with who you are? Not because it was trackable, scalable, or impressive. That moment right there, the one that's hard to remember, is why you're exhausted. Fulfillment isn't found in winning. It's found in integrity, in congruence, in doing what matters to you, even if no one sees it. So maybe the path back to mental health isn't about doing more. Maybe it's about doing differently, less chasing, more choosing, less proving, more becoming. Because when your actions are aligned with your deepest values, your nervous system finally gets the signal it's been craving. We're home. And now that you know metrics don't ground you, let's talk about what actually does. Not hacks, not routines, but rituals that make your body feel safe again. Let's rebuild from there. So now you know, achievement didn't give you peace. Metrics didn't give you meaning. Control didn't make you safe. But here's what's really been missing, and why everything still feels unsteady. Your nervous system has never learned what safe actually feels like. And without safety, there's no foundation, no clarity, no resilience, no real mental health. You've been sold hacks, quick tricks to manipulate your mood, productivity, energy. But healing isn't a hack, it's a rhythm, a relationship, a quiet promise you keep making with yourself. No matter how chaotic the world becomes, I will return to myself. And that promise? It's not built through goals, it's built through rituals, not routines for performance, not checklists to impress yourself, but real, embodied sacred rhythms that speak the language your nervous system actually understands. A slow glass of water before the screen turns on. 1 minute of stillness before your feet touch the ground. A song you play every night to tell your body, we made it through. These aren't silly habits, they're anchors. And in a world spinning too fast, your healing begins the moment you choose to pause on purpose. Daniel Siegel speaks of integration, the process of bringing scattered parts of the self back into coherence. That's what a ritual does. It teaches your fragmented body to breathe as one again. It stitches presence back into your skin, and you don't need to do it perfectly. This isn't about discipline. It's about consistency and compassion. Because the truth is, your nervous system doesn't need intensity. It needs repetition, familiarity, predictable safety. That's how trauma heals. That's how identity stabilizes. That's how clarity begins to return. And it's not always glamorous. Sometimes it's just silence and letting it not scare you. Sometimes it's saying no and letting people be disappointed. Sometimes it's going to bed even when your mind begs for more scrolling. These are not small acts. These are revolutionary shifts. Because they say to your system, again and again, we are no longer at war. You want to change your life? Then start by honoring your biology. Stop trying to outsmart your wiring, and start retraining it. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to someone very old, someone buried under survival, someone who remembers what it's like to breathe without fear. You're not too broken. You're not too far gone. You're just out of rhythm. And rituals are how you find your way back. So don't look for another fix. Create a space, no matter how small, where your mind can rest and your body can trust again. Because mental health isn't mastered, it's tended to. every single day. And this is where it begins. Let's breathe. And from here, let's rebuild, one grounded moment at a time. You made it to the end, not because you're fixed, not because everything's solved, but because some part of you, the part beneath the pressure, the rolls, the exhaustion, knew this mattered. And now, maybe for the first time, you see what mental health really is. It's not about perfection. It's not about always feeling good, or staying positive, or having it all figured out. It's about learning how to stay with yourself, even when things feel heavy, uncertain, or impossible. We've unpacked a lot. The invisible emotional weight you carry, the nervous system that's been in survival, not failure, the myth of happiness, the lie of control, the trap of metrics, the pressure to perform a version of yourself that isn't true, and underneath it all, a body that's been waiting for you to stop fighting it, to stop fixing, editing, outperforming, and finally just listen. Mental health isn't a destination, it's a relationship, one where you tend, return, repair, gently, daily, imperfectly, like a garden, like breath, like trust. So if you still feel messy, good. That means you're being honest. If you still feel overwhelmed, good. That means you're finally awake. Now let that awareness become action. Choose one ritual, just one, that makes your body feel safe. Reflect on which part of you you've been editing to survive. Share this with someone who's been silently carrying more than they should. And if this spoke to you, if something in your chest finally exhaled, stay, because this space is just beginning. So subscribe, not for the algorithm, but for your own rhythm, because you're not broken, you're adapting. And now finally, you're doing it consciously. Welcome back. You've got this. We'll keep going, together.